Let's break down the 2023 recruiting class. Winners and losers right here at the Voice of College Football. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media, subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. Let's break it down. Now that all the numbers are basically in, there's a few scattered players that have yet to sign for 2023, but basically we've got the numbers, and let's take a look and see what they all mean. First and foremost, Alabama rules college football. Georgia, yes, has won a second consecutive national championship. Bama wins in recruiting again. The Tide's at number one, according to the 247 Sports composite listings. They are number one in recruiting for the 10th time since 2011. The other years, they finished a paltry number two, and number 5. While we are checking out the top 10 to 25 classes in the nation, according to 247 Sports, based on the overall ranking, which takes into account the volume of the class, but also the player quality, of course, and they put together a points total. Let's also take into consideration the player average, meaning smaller classes are hurt by the ranking, of course, because it's a total points measurement. So if you look at the overall rankings, let's re-rank the 2023 class according to average player rating. Who got the best quality of players? Alabama is still number one at 94.78. Georgia and Alabama, the only two schools to average more than 94 points per player. Ohio State jumps from number 5 to number 3. Texas also tops the 93-point total per player. LSU rounds out the top 5. Then you see Florida and Miami in their positions. Notre Dame is next as we look at all the teams, 12 of them, that average more than 91 points per player, with USC and Penn State coming in at 11 and 12. How did the conferences fare? Take a guess. The SEC crushes recruiting, and they crush it each and every year. 4 of the top 9 teams in the rankings come from the SEC. 8 of the top 17 and 11 of the top 27 from the SEC. If we look at the last 5 recruiting classes, that takes into account 2019, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Last 5 recruiting classes, and look at top 10 classes. The SEC has pulled in 22 top 10 classes, and most of those are in the top 5. The Big Ten is number 2 with 8 top 10 classes. There you see the Big 12 and the ACC at 7 and 6, and the Pac-12 at 4. Then also take this into consideration. Those Big 12 top 10 classes, yes, they are Oklahoma and Texas. Where are those teams going? And those players, they are going to be playing in the SEC in 2 years. Now, how about the best of the best, the 5-star players? There's only about 35 to 40 5-star players. These guys aren't on every street corner in America. Really think about that. When there are 130 FBS teams, 65 in the Power 5, and they are recruiting and signing between 20 and 25 players per. So that's about 1,200 to 1,500 players in the Power 5, and only 35 to 40 of them are 5 stars. But as somebody commented to me on social media the other day, Mark, 5-star players are overrated. Well, obviously, a few of them are overrated and turn out to be busts. But by and large, get this, more than 40%. There was a study done here recently. More than 40% of 5-star players play in the NFL. That drops to about 12 to 14% for 4-star players. So if you're a 5-star player, you have a great likelihood of playing in the NFL, almost 50%. And who snatched up the most 5 stars? It's not even close. The SEC with 21, followed by the Big 12 with 7. Those also all going to Oklahoma and Texas. Then we've got the Pac-12 and the ACC, the Big 10, depending on your service. We could notch up the Big 10 to 2, both of those going to Ohio State, again, depending on your service. However, let's also keep in mind, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, Oklahoma and Texas moving to the SEC in 2024, USC, UCLA to the Big 10. Therefore, where are these players going to be playing? Not to the schools or the conferences that they've been selected, but let's revise this 5-star list. We shoot the SEC from 21 to 28 with the 7 added from Oklahoma and Texas. The Big Ten tacks on a few from USC and UCLA at 4, followed by the ACC and the Pac-12, and the Big 12 number of 7 goes all the way down to a big fat 0. One of the big flaws in the recruiting game is, of course, that the quarterback position is the most important position on the field. I try to de-emphasize that to a certain extent because I like to value each and every player, of course, but let's understand, it's a quarterback-driven game more and more each and every season, and he is the most important player on the field. There's no question about that. Well, that's not reflected in the recruiting rankings. A quarterback is valued just as much as an offensive lineman, linebacker, pick the position. They are all created equal in regards to player rating. So let's look at the quarterback position and see what conferences are fielding the best quarterback haul here in 2023. There are 5 five-star quarterbacks in 2023, and they signed with Texas, Tennessee, UCLA, Oklahoma, and USC. Therefore, if we go down to the top 20 quarterbacks in this class, they signed with these conferences. The SEC snatched up 6, followed by the Big 12 and the Pac-12 with 5. However, again, these players will not hit the field until at least 2024, and therefore, those Oklahoma and Texas signees, they're going to be playing in the SEC, and USC, UCLA will be in the Big Ten. Therefore, let's rank it in reality, which means that the SEC has now signed 8 of the top 20 quarterbacks from this class, and then you see the rest of the conferences reflected right there, and the Pac-12 drops from 5 to 3. Which states produce the best football talent? We pretty much know that for a long, long time it's been Texas, Florida, and California, that 40% of the top 300 players each season are produced by those 3 states. However, California not playing as good a high school football as it has in the past. Also, it's losing population or not gaining population at the same measure that it was in previous decades. However, Georgia is up and coming. Also, states like Alabama may surprise a lot of people in regards to the quantity of top-notch talent produced in Alabama and throughout the Southeast. Of course, let's check out the numbers. And these are the 5 and 4 stars produced by all the states. So we're looking at the top 100 players according to the 247 Sports rankings and where they played high school football. Florida wins the race over Texas 24-19. Then there's a pretty large drop-off to Alabama. Look at Alabama with more top 100 players in 2023 than California, than Georgia. Pretty impressive from the state of Alabama. Louisiana per capita still exceptional, even with just 5 there. I was a bit surprised with Georgia this particular recruiting cycle with just 4 placed in the top 100. Then we go down the line with Ohio and Pennsylvania and some of those northern states with not quite as many blue chip commodities as they had decades ago. So now let's broaden the scope and look at how many 4 and 5 stars each state produced. Now, first and foremost, we want to let you know that there were 13 states that did not produce any 4 and 5 stars. You could probably guess some of those states. Alaska, Delaware, New Hampshire, Montana, and others. Again, 13 states, probably the most prominent in regards to playing high school football and also playing in big college football states would be, surprisingly, Minnesota, no 4 and 5 stars. Kentucky, West Virginia, and Wisconsin with no 4 and 5 stars, which obviously makes it more difficult for those in-state schools to compete at a high level, but the likes of Wisconsin and Kentucky are able to overcome that challenge by going out of state. So, of course, we see the massive haul from Florida and Texas with 69 and 66 4 and 5 stars, respectively. Florida doubling up on Texas 8-4 in 5 stars. Georgia, even though it only produced 4 top 100 players, if we go all the way down the list through the 4 and 5 stars, which takes us to about numbers 450, something in that range, Georgia started to produce more volumes of talent with 37 total 4 and 5 stars. California right there at 32 as well. As we look down the list, you will see North Carolina producing well. Ohio, even though there's been a drop-off in talent, Ohio still had 13 4 and 5 stars with no 5 stars in this particular class. Alabama, once again, mighty impressive with a total of 19 4 and 5 stars. And if we count it all up, Alabama, California, Florida, Georgia, also Louisiana, Ohio, North Carolina, and Missouri, along with, of course, Texas and Virginia, would be the states that produced at least 10 4 and 5 stars. There you have our breakdown of the 2023 class in regards to what states produce the best talent and the most talent. And then, of course, how are the conferences faring, with not a big surprise with the SEC dominating the recruiting rankings and the talent haul. Leave your comments below, folks. We would love to hear what you have to say and maybe some angles and perspectives that you have on the 2023 class and recruiting trends overall right here at the Voice of College Football. Please smash that like button and keep it locked in right here at the Voice of College Football.